Good morning. We're going to start off our Regional Transportation Committee with us opening up the special session of the committee. Can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Jensen?
Present.
Commissioner Keeley?
Here.
Commissioner Clark?
Here.
Commissioner Montesino?
Here.
Commission Alternate Hurst?
Here.
Commission Alternate Schifrin?
Here.
Commissioner DeSerpa?
Present.
Commissioner Koenig?
Here.
Commissioner Martinez?
Present.
Commissioner Downey?
Yes, and I'm attending for just cause because due to a contagious illness that prevents my in-person attendance.
Thank you. And Commissioner Leonor?
I think he's running a little bit late.
Okay, and Commissioner Hill?
Here.
You have a quorum.
With that, do we need a staff report?
The special meeting is just the closed session, but the commission should take public comments on the closed session item. And this is the one matter, exposure to litigation. So if there's any public comments on that closed session, the commission should take that.
So is there any public comment on the closed session item? I didn't see none in the room. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
We do. Sorry about that. We're using a few computers here. David?
Yes, I'm David Schoenbrunn, president of the Transportation Solutions Defense and Education Fund. We sent you a Brown Act demand letter, which we assume is what this agenda item is for. In addition to the Brown Act violations we've alleged occurring at your January commission meeting, we observed two more from today's agenda. First, your chair didn't issue a call and notice for the special meeting. Second, you didn't provide a copy of our demand letter in your special meeting agenda. That's required by case law. And I'll cite you a very short passage from Citizens for a Green San Mateo versus San Mateo County Community College District. The only reasonable inference is that a record of a litigation threat to be discussed in closed session.
Thank you. With that,
Thomas? I have another one.
Must be included in the agenda packet.
Thomas? Mr. Thomas Williams? It looks like you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
all right, so we'll move on and somebody else will in the
Okay, we'll move on to the next speaker. You're showing up as Zoom user.
Hello.
We can
this
hear
me?
you.
Hi, yeah, I have questions about if you've weighed the damage that this decision will cause some businesses that depend on that rail in Lower Watsonville. Have you noticed?
Closed session item, sir.
Huh?
This is a comment period for the closed session item.
Oh, so this is not the right time for
No.
this comment?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas Williams?
Is that all?
Sorry, Mr. Williams, it looks like you're unmuted and we still can't hear you.
we'll close that up and I'll bring it back and, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Brian with Trade now. I'll make 2 comments. Painful when you have your closed session before the meeting for the public. So it is what it is. But the other thing I want to comment about, it's very sad when we have these people from out of town, person who made a comment here online, trying to dictate how we use our property, use our infrastructure, trying to impose their views and opinions. Now better? Okay. Yeah, trying to impose their vision of our community from out of town. That's not what we need. We don't need those out-of-towners coming in and telling us how we can invest in our infrastructure. So just want a message to that individual from this, this organization that he claimed that is helping our community. You're not helping our community. Thank you.
Thank you. With that,
Mr. Chair, if I may, just to respond to a couple of the comments that were made, there was a comment that the meeting was not properly called. Just for the record, the executive director and I did speak with the chairperson after we received the letter from the organization on Monday, and the chairperson did agree to call this meeting, and then it was properly noticed as a special meeting. I'm speaking specifically to this closed session. The closed session does relate to the letter that the gentleman was referencing in his comments, and that letter is a public record, is available for review. It has been provided previously to the commission, and so the commission is aware of the letter. The letter is accessible to the public. It's my understanding it's been reported in the media already as well too, and so I just wanted the record to reflect that. Thank you.
thank you. And with that, I'm going to close it up and we're going to go into closed session. Thank you. And hopefully, do we anticipate, there may be a reportable action from closed session. and how many minutes you?
We estimate 30 to 60, 60 being on the very long side. I think 30 is appropriate, but.
Thank you. Well, good morning. So we're back from the closed session item, and then
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. There was no reportable action from the closed session, and the commission can close the special meeting and open the regular meeting.
thank you. With that, we're closing up the special meeting, and now we're going to move on to our regular agenda meeting. So welcome, everyone, and can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Hill? Ex officio Hill?
Not, yeah.
Commissioner Leonor?
Here.
Commissioner Downey?
Here.
Commissioner Martinez?
Present.
Commissioner Koenig?
Here.
Commissioner DeSerpa?
Present.
Commission Alternate Schifrin?
Here.
Commission Alternate Hurst?
Present.
Commissioner Montesino?
Here.
Commissioner Clark?
Here.
Commissioner Keeley? And Commissioner Jensen?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. With that, do we receive any SB 707 just cause?
Yes, we have Commissioner Downing via remote. Commissioner Downey?
Yes, I'm looking for just cause due to a contagious illness preventing my attendance today.
Thank you. And then do we have any additions and deletions?
We have posted to the RTC website handouts for item 8 and item 20. We also have replacement pages for item 20.
Thank you.
And
With
Mr.
that
Chair,
said-
if I may speak to that as
Yeah.
well, too. As the commission is aware, you did receive the letter that we referenced in the prior special meeting. We received the letter from the transit organization that made certain requests of the commission with regards to the closed session that the commission had at its last meeting. And those requests included, they made allegations of Brown Act violations, which we do not agree with, but they made those allegations. They also requested that the commission cease and desist and cure those violations. That letter came to the commission on Monday. The agenda was posted last week. The Brown Act does allow the commission by a 2/3 vote to add items to an agenda when the items came to the attention of the commission after the agenda was posted, and there's a need for an immediate action. The Brown Act requires that any curative action, any irrevocable commitments be made within 30 days of receipt of a letter. And those commitments can be made and those actions can be taken notwithstanding the position of the commission that there was no Brown Act violation previously, that the commission's actions were appropriate. That is my view, that they were. And so the commission has an opportunity to add an item to the agenda today. It's really related to agenda item number 20, because one of the asks in the letter was that any consideration of the termination of the ACL with Progressive Rail be done at an open meeting. That is your agenda item 20 today. That is an item to be decided upon potentially by the commission today. And so staff's recommendation would be, if the commission desires, to add an item to the agenda which allows you to give direction to us to issue an irrevocable commitment, as well as identifying item number 20 as the curative action for the alleged Brown Act violation before. And again, it's an allegation of it, but it is not one with which we agree. If I may, Commissioner Downing, this is one that you would, given your prior abstentions, would want to abstain on this one as well, too. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I would, if the commission wished to add these, that would require a motion and a second and a 2/3 vote of the commission to add an item to the agenda. And I'll leave it to the commission now.
Move that item be added to the agenda.
It's been,
I'll second.
it's been moved in second.
And
All
just,
those-
just because Commissioner Downing's still on the screen, Commissioner Downing, can you just note your abstention for the record on this item?
Yes, I'll be abstaining due to a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
And with that, can I get a roll call?
Mr. Chair, if there's any public comment on that
Oh,
motion, I would take public
Sorry.
comment on that motion.
Any public comment on this item?
Is Brian Peoples, is that working? Speaker working? Make sure it's green. Yeah, sure, button. Press the button. Brian, I support the commission's efforts to add this to the agenda. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jessica Evans from the city of Santa Cruz. I'd like to say that I don't understand what is being asked, and I don't feel able to make public comment, and I would request clarifying from council or from the commission. I don't know what is being talked about to be added to the agenda here. Do you guys know what's being talked about?
Of course we do. Do you want to
I
respond?
can respond to
Yeah,
that if the commission
go
would
ahead.
like. The commission held a closed session at its meeting on last month, and the commission received a letter from an organization this week which asserted that the scope of the closed session and the noticing for the closed session did not comply with the Brown Act. The commission did receive that letter this week. They received it after we had posted the agenda for this meeting. And what the commission is being asked to do right now, as allowed under the Brown Act, is without admitting that there was a violation of the Brown Act, and again, it's my opinion there wasn't, but without admitting that, the commission has an opportunity under the Brown Act to cure that alleged Brown Act issue, as well as to make what's referred to as a commitment not to have a violation in the future, and that's what the commission is adding for consideration to the agenda, and it all relates to item number 20 on the agenda. Okay.
So, with that, I'd like to make a comment that I do support the commission adding it to the agenda, to at least talk about it, right? I think that's.
Thank you. Anybody over Zoom?
Yes. Zoom user?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I would like to make a legal argument, logistical hardship. resulting from decommissioning of rail service in Watsonville. Parties affected: Delmar Foods, Martinelli's, Big Creek Lumber.
This is just related to adding an item to the agenda.
When will we be able to comment on the hardships?
Number 20, when we get to 20.
Okay, thank you.
Ryan?
All right, unmute. Hello. Yes, this is Ryan Sarnatara from Live Oak. I think that you want to look at what the motivation is behind this this spurious allegation, and I think it's part of a concerted attack on the RTC, trying to save the $100 million grant and finally move forward with what a majority of Santa Cruzans would like if it was ever presented to them in a fair manner, which is to provide an additional transportation corridor without a train that's impossible to finance. And keep in mind, there are groups now organizing to sue the RTC as well. And these groups are, again, obstructionists, and you could call them, in some cases, outside agitators. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no other speakers.
With that, I'm going to close it up and bring it back for Commission's direction. So it's been first and second.
Before we vote, if we can just pause for a second. Sarah, they're unlocked, right? The doors are open.
Yeah, the door just locked, so I was trying to keep it open so that way.
Yeah, we just want to make sure the doors are open. The doors are locking, so if there are members of the public out there, we want to make sure they have an opportunity to get in.
One's leaving till the end. Really closed doors.
No, we understand that, but we can't.
It locks automatically.
We can't have the chambers closed off to the public.
It's our version of an escape room. So with that, it's been first and second. All those in favor, and do I have to take a roll call, or?
You do, because even though Commissioner Downing's abstaining, she's remote, so it needs to be, all votes need to be roll call today.
So roll call, please.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Keeley? Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Montesino?
Yes.
Commissioner Alternate Hurst?
Aye.
Commissioner Alternate Schifrin? Commissioner DeSerpa?
Aye.
Commissioner Koenig?
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez?
Aye.
Commissioner Leonor?
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
So with that, do we go?
And just return to the regular agenda. Those items will be considered, and action on those will be part of item 20 on the agenda today.
Okay. So with that, we're going to continue now into oral communication. This is time for the public to weigh in items not on the agenda. If you're going to talk about rail or any rail components of 20.
Brian Peoples, Trail Now. The farmers, North Coast farmers, reached out to us, and they met with, they have a big concern that their new trail, this new trail on the North Coast, is blocking their access to their farmland. And they asked Andy and Cummings, Supervisor Cummings, which they came out there and met, and they threw up their arms that they can't help them. This is a great example of how building the trail next to the tracks has created problems for our community. It's cost more. That North Coast is millions over budget. It's a decade late, and all for the reason for keeping these old tracks. So I'm hopeful that during commissioners' oral comments, that Mr. Schiffner takes the time to tell you that he met with the farmers to talk about the problem that is being created. You're not allowing them to get to their farms because of the trail, the design. And if you had originally did it the way that we had recommended with the farmers, we wouldn't be having this problem. And we would have saved a lot of time and money. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Evans, and on this item, I'm going to be commenting on behalf of the Santa Cruz County Friends of the Rail and Trail. We wanted to publicly thank Big Trees and Pacific Roaring Camp Railroads for their assistance with constructing the North Coast Trail. They've been out there working on intersections, laying new ties, ballast, helping to create a safe trail for everybody. They've been volunteering that. They're not charging the county anything, and we wanted to publicly acknowledge their work and thank them. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Montesino and Commissioners. Matt Farrell, Friends of the Rail and Trail. I have a request regarding the agenda. Item 20 has 2 items on it. It has to do with the notice of intent to terminate, notice of intention to terminate the ACL, and a second item, cooperative agreements regarding trail segments. It's very hard for the public to comment on both of those items in a minute, and I would appreciate it if you would allow people a minute to comment on each of those aspects of the recommendation. Thank you very much.
Anybody else in chambers here? Seeing none, over Zoom.
Yes, we have a total of 6 speakers. We'll start with Jack Brown.
Chair and Commissioners, thank you. I want to ask that the Commissioners spend more time and effort improving maintaining the Soquel Avenue and Soquel Drive bike lane, which is one of the most heavily used bicycle corridors in the county. First, I want to thank the City of Santa Cruz for maintaining their portion well, especially the new lane striping. It shows what good upkeep looks like and how much difference it makes for safety and comfort. Unfortunately, conditions changed dramatically outside of the city. Along Soquel Drive, particularly in Aptos, more than 80 delineators have been knocked off their bases. What's left are black plastic bases sitting in the bike lane, which are extremely hard to see at night and create a real crash hazard. I've already struck one once trying to avoid a construction sign. On top of that, there's significant debris and detritus in the lanes. The regular street sweeping is not happening. It should be done at least once a month, according to Public Works, which doesn't appear to be the case. Bike lane that isn't maintained becomes unsafe and people stop using it. We've invested a lot of money building the infrastructure. Now we need to protect that investment. Maintenance is not optional. It's a core part of the safe and reliable transportation system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Saint.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Michael St. Aptos, SCPRT member as well. We need a transit system that is capable of carrying tens of thousands of people a day and is convenient as an automobile. People in general will not ride a bus. In 2001, our population in Santa Cruz County was 255,000, and Metro carried at their top peak 8 million people, which is their record. In 2024, nearly 25 years later, our population was 263,000, and our ridership went down to 4 million, just half of what it was 25 years ago. This bus system is a social equity transit system and is funded by the RT as a social equity project. Personal rapid transit can appeal to all walks of life and at the same time improve and be part of increasing Metro's ridership. We need to embrace technology and realize buses are socially limited and single-track trains offer too low of ridership numbers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Helmer.
Good morning. There is a Felton Safety Improvement Project on Highway 9 between San Lorenzo Way and the Graham Hill Signal. This is where the 3 homes have been demolished. The project is being constructed by Granite Construction in the nighttime, but during the daytime, the barriers that are installed at this time are forcing students to actually walk in the travel lane, which is not safe, and it's the very reason why we're doing this project to begin with, is to allow the students not to walk in the travel lane. There are no road construction signs in advance of these in the southbound direction. Every project should have road work ahead signs. There are none. And once again, the students are having to walk in the travel lane to get around the barriers and cones. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zoom user?
Hello. I want to make this very quick. Parties affected by this, the proposed decommissioning of active rail infrastructure in Watsonville would pose material and foreseeable hardships on major regional employers and industrial operators, including but not limited to Del Mar Foods, Martinelli's, Big Creek Lumber, Anheuser-Busch, and Agron Energy. These entities rely directly or indirectly on rail-served logistics or rail-adjacent infrastructure. Okay, legal standard, economic and logistical hardship. Under California and federal law, public agencies may not eliminate critical transportation infrastructure, or doing so imposes disproportionate economic or operational hardships on existing lawful industries, removes a unique or non-substitutable logistics modality, creates foreseeable downstream impacts, fails to adequately mitigate under CEQA. It's a CEQA violation to decommission.
Thank you.
David Dean?
Yes, thank you for your time. I also would like to thank the RTC for the work that's happening on segment 5 of the trail. It's looking beautiful. I'm very happy that we've managed to preserve the rail. And that I think that when people see it open, they will love it as much as they love segment 7, which is fantastic. And proves to be very useful. I would also was wondering, the website currently says it's scheduled for opening in March of this year, but I've heard that there will still be ongoing construction, like at Panther Beach parking, and I was wondering if that was going to delay the opening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan?
Yes. I wanted to bring up something that's really outside the agenda, which is that there's an intersection at 17th and Rodriguez, which is an odd configuration, not an exact cross. And that intersection, according to a discussion with one of the policemen at the site of an accident there once, has a disproportionate amount of instances where drivers do not see bicyclists or pedestrians. I think that the RTC needs to be a little more proactive in figuring out which intersections in the county have problems and then coming up with solutions. In the case of this intersection, a formal request has been sent to the authorities to try and look at it. But I think there are other intersections as well. And the last thing I'll say is that the amount of traffic going through that intersection by bicycle, at least, would be less had the trail been in place, because it's exactly parallel to the trail and not very far from it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Lonnie Faulkner?
Thank you, Commission. If we're going to stop the extreme rise in global warming, which we're seeing year after year, we need to get people out of cars and into using transit, which only happens with robust alternatives, which provides people with frequent, dependable service to places where people are going. Santa Cruz should be setting the curve, but we're focusing funds on widening highways and not providing alternatives. While Santa Cruz and the rest of the country is seeing drops in transit ridership, Sonoma and Marin are seeing amazing increases in transit ridership, averaging 8,000 people per day because they are using their single-track train, very much like ours, for passenger rail. The entirety of Sonoma Marin has redesigned their plans to focus on getting people onto the rail because it has become so popular. We need to be doing the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pauline Seals.
Sorry. I'm unmuted. You can hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I made a brief suggestion of simply having northbound on one side of the rail and southbound trail on the other side of the rail. No fences. That would fit just fine, keeping rail and trail. We need to keep the tracks for later. There will be money coming because
You'll have an opportunity later in the item 20. We're going too far off on the item 20, where these are going to be the appropriate comments.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin McGuire.
Yes, I just want to say what Lonnie Falker said about alternative robust transportation. That's true. We need Metro to increase the amount of service they do. We also need people to walk and bike. Those are things that we can implement today, not 20, 30 years from now. And Smart Sonoma Marin does not have 8,000 people per day. The latest numbers out directly from the website shows average weekday ridership is about 4,500. And then if you count for unique passengers, that's about 2,300 unique people. Sonoma Marin serves about 3 times the amount of people as our population. So you can see that it's not really effective. What's effective is active transportation, people walking, biking, carpooling, and using the bus transit that we have. We have a great metro system. We need to heavily invest into that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean.
The work with the DRTC is charged with doing, managing and maintaining public services is extremely important. The CDC data on the percentages of people with disabilities in America is 28.7%. And that number has not been updated since July of 2024. We need access to safe travel, especially in the hard times that are going to be coming with, with people losing their insurance and this and that, insurance being tied to work. The least you all can do is help us get ourselves to work and to appointments and to school and to pick up the kids.
Thank you.
That was your last speaker.
All right. Back, I'll lie at this time, but go ahead.
3, 4. Thank you. I'm Saladin Sale. I live in the city of Santa Cruz, and I wanted to make a brief suggestion with regard to trail construction in the general sense. One of the culture changes that is necessary as we introduce controlled walking and biking trails that cross our city streets are the inevitable conflicts between automobiles and cyclists. Some of our crossings have warning lights, and an ongoing challenge is getting cyclists to push the button to make the lights flash. That is a problem, along with getting drivers to look for bicycles. On Soquel Drive, I recently noticed a activation switch, which its instructions said push or wave at button to activate the lights. And it works just like that. That makes it much easier for cyclists. Please consider this suggestion in the future.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to close up that item, and then we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Commissioners, do you have any questions on consent agenda? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to the public for items in the consent agenda.
Consent agenda, Brian Peoples with Trail Now. It's the bike committee. I forgot what item that number is. You know, first got involved with this organization almost 30 years ago. I've been coming regularly 15 years to this. I've never been to the bike committee because it's really not a bike committee. Those people on that are more focused on the rail. As an example, they tried to move $5 million away from the bike program to the rail program 2 meetings ago. If you read the comments today on agenda item 20, the bike committee person for Capitola is against converting the Capitola trestle into a trail. That's a little dysfunctional when we have our bike committee not supporting bikes and they're supporting a fossil fuel train driving through our community. Really, we should be prioritizing our bike committee as bike advocates, not as train advocates. Please, let's see if we can adjust our bike committee to be really bike advocates. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on consent agenda in chambers? Seeing none, anybody over Zoom?
We don't have any speakers online.
All right, so bring back for commission direction.
Move to approve.
It's been moved.
Second?
It's been second. Well, can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Leonor?
Yes.
Commissioner Downey?
Except for item 9, where I need to recuse myself, aye.
Commissioner Martinez?
Aye.
Commissioner Koenig?
Aye.
Commissioner DeSerpa?
Aye.
Commission Alternate Schifrin?
Aye.
Commission Alternate Hurst?
Aye.
Commissioner Montesino?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Keeley? Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
And that item passes.
Item passes, so we're going on to a regular agenda. Any commissioners report? Seeing none, there's no commissioners report, then we're going to go on to 17, the director's report.
Good morning. I have a PowerPoint that we're pulling up. It's a short director's report today. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. I have some great news to share. The Capitol Avenue overcrossing over Highway 1 is now open. We opened the bridge last week. This new bridge is the first completed component of the Phase 2 project, the Highway 1 Auxiliary Lanes and Bus on Shoulder project located between the Bay Porter interchange and the State Park Drive interchange. This bridge replaces a very old bridge, and the new bridge has enhanced bicycle and pedestrian facilities, and it creates a safe and accessible crossing for people walking and biking from the north side of the highway to the south. as well as cars. So it's a multimodal bridge. It is going to be a crucial connection once the Coastal Rail Trail project is complete in the south, and it will connect to the multimodal improvements that were implemented by the County of Santa Cruz on the north. We will be hosting a ribbon cutting ceremony on February 26th. That's a Thursday. It's going to be held at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. This is a celebration for the community. And the address is 911 Capitola Avenue. And we invite the community to come out and celebrate with us. Stay tuned for, on our website and social media for more information. Next slide, please. I must say the neighbors were really excited when it opened, and they came out and were cheering and giving hugs, and it was all very happy times on Friday. Okay, Rural Highway Safety Plan. We've been busy on this planning study for about a year now. The draft report is now available for public review and comment. This planning study developed safety enhancement concepts for 10 emphasis areas identified through crash pattern analysis and public input. The community provided feedback on the draft concepts for 6 weeks last fall when we received nearly 50 pages of comments that have since been reviewed by the project team and will be considered as part of the report. Visit the RTC website to view the draft report and provide your feedback by noon on Tuesday, February 17th. And stay tuned for a presentation of the final report to the Commission and the community at a subsequent RTC meeting. I would like to thank Commissioners Hernandez and Lenore for their partnership and direct input on the rural highways in South County. So thank you very much for that. Next slide. I have a few staffing announcements. Rachel Moricone, Senior Transportation Planner, has announced her retirement. Rachel has been a vital part of the RTC team for 29 years. Rachel began as a volunteer intern in 1997 and within a few months was promoted to a transportation planner position. Throughout her tenure at the RTC, Rachel has had many accomplishments, including the RTC's rideshare program and establishment of a van pool incentive program, many successful grants, programming, and legislative work. She staffed the RTC's Interagency Technical Advisory Committee, or the ITAC, for 26 years. She served as the RTC's RTPA, Regional Transportation Planning Agency representative on a statewide committee, established the RTC's Consolidated Grants program for transportation projects. She crafted much of the text for RTC's successful 2016 Measure D, prepared the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Plan, or RTP, Rail Transit Feasibility Study, Highway 9 SLV Complete Streets Corridor Plan, and our recently completed Equity Action Plan. Please join me in thanking Rachel for her nearly 3 decades of service to our region. Rachel's last day will be February 12th. Please join me in appreciating Rachel for her many years of dedicated service and congratulating her another time. Maybe we'll play the Zoom for her in the office. Next slide, please. We also received news that Amy Naranjo has decided to relocate to Atlanta, Georgia, and resign from the RTC last week. Over Amy's 15 years with the RTC, she made significant contributions to the Regional Transportation Plan, or RTP, establishment of the RTC's successful Transportation Demand Management Program, Go Santa Cruz County, management of the Safe On 17, Cruz 511, and Freeway Service Patrol programs. We especially will miss her keen eye for operational efficiencies internally and the use of technologies to improve how we operate and perform effective outreach to the community. Please join me in thanking Amy for her 15 years of service to our region. And that concludes my director's report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any commissioner comments or questions? Commissioner Schifrin.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say a few words about Rachel Marconi. I think she's been an incredible asset to the commission over the years. I will say that she actually started as an ex-student of mine at UCSC, and I remember when she became an intern at the commission, and through the years has shown incredible competence and successes at getting grants for the commission. And I feel she'll be a real loss. I know that, the commission will be, nobody is irreplaceable. But I think she'll be missed. And I think it really is important to recognize just how important she has been as a staff member to the commission over the years.
Yeah. I think we all agree, being in the commission for a few years, she's an integral part of the agency. Go ahead, public comment.
Rachel really hates me to tell you guys this. She's the one who got me involved. She, 29 years ago, so she really hates me to say it. Brian, stop telling people that. But she is actually a phenomenal person. She's done phenomenal work. She is going to be hard to replace in the way of grants and following through with that. So our community has really benefited from Rachel's work, and I just wanted to recognize her for that. Thank you.
I also wanted to acknowledge Rachel. Not only is she known locally as a real hero in our funding scene, but she's known throughout the state as an expert. Regional transportation planning agencies across the state seek her out when they have funding challenges or need to strategize on their own funding programs. If you've worked with Rachel, you know she's an incredible.
If you've worked with Rachel, you know she has an incredible attention to detail and doesn't let a penny of transportation funds go unaccounted for. You can ask any of your staff and your local agencies who touch local and state funds, that they will tell you Rachel's an amazing resource, and she's the reason that your agency hasn't lost transportation funds for key transportation projects in your community. Obtaining grant awards is difficult, but it often goes unnoticed how difficult it is to navigate the bureaucracy to obligate the funds and then not to lose them and have them available when it's time to award the project. Rachel is the expert that has helped all of our projects throughout the last 20 years and is a huge asset to our community. She will definitely be missed.
Thank you. With that, seeing nobody else in chambers, anybody over Zoom?
Yes, we do have some speakers. Rachel?
Hi, commissioners. I was there earlier, but then I bailed out during the closed session. So I do want to just really appreciate Commissioner Schifrin for his words and recognize that he's not alone. There's been so many commissioners over the years, and I regret that I haven't gotten to know a lot of the newer commissioners, but who have really just demonstrated why this is such an amazing agency to work for. It can be really tempting for us to measure our successes by the projects that we deliver or the grants we, secure or the plans that get approved. But over the years, what I've really learned matters the most is how much collaborating with our partners and the community in all of our decisions and really asking the hard questions about who's going to benefit from this decision and who's burdened by it and whose voices we're not hearing from yet. So I just really appreciate commissioners and community members have really stepped up and dug deep to have those sometimes challenging conversations and sometimes repetitive conversations. But it's just been really fantastic, and I feel privileged to have been here as long as I was, and look forward to watching you guys' work into the future on Sentinel news articles that hopefully are accurate.
Thank you, Rachel.
Lonnie?
Thank you. I wanted to give a big congratulations to Rachel Marconi. She's done amazing work, and we've just been able to enjoy the fruits of her labor and amazing, thoughtful, precise way of handling both the grants and the monies that come from that. And thank you for all her hard work. And I also want to thank Amy Naranjo. I've worked with her with a number of fairs, and she's been a pleasure to work with. And so I wish her the best on relocating to Atlanta. And we're going to miss both of these amazing women. Thank you.
You have no other speakers.
With that, I'm going to close it up and move on to item number 18, Caltrans report. Commissioner Hill.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. My report will also be fairly brief. I want to acknowledge everyone and thank everyone for all of the patience as we continue to deliver projects across the county, whether we are ramping down or ramping up or both on just about every highway in the county. We are busy improving the infrastructure, and that does impact everyone. On Highway 17 coming up on the 19th and 24th of February, 6 o'clock. Caltrans with RTC staff and our Bay Area Caltrans partners will be conducting a Highway 17 corridor plan public meeting. It's all virtual, and if you search Google for Caltrans Highway 17 corridor plan, you can get more information. So that's about the best way to find out information. So other than that, any questions?
I just have a comment, just, I know it's difficult because you guys are working just about every highway, at every section. I know one of the sections in my area, you're rebuilding part of the, almost a landslide, it seems like, a roadway on Main Street. So I just want to thank you for the hard work. I know it's difficult and it's bearing for the community, but improvements are good.
Appreciate it. Understand that we have another project coming up for right through town. So bear with us. You'll have another couple of years of this.
Commissioner Clark.
Yeah, just real quickly, thank you for that report. And I just want to, again, publicly acknowledge how great the Caltrans staff was to work with. You might have heard about the great Scotts Valley sinkhole incident. If those of you haven't heard about it, it's huge news in our town.
I thought it was going to be a pool.
yeah. I thought we were building a public pool finally. But I just want to acknowledge the work. Caltrans, this is a major intersection. It's right at Granite Creek, Scotts Valley Drive, and the sinkhole took out the control cabinet and the electricity for that. And that's a pretty significant intersection for us if you've ever tried to traverse it in the morning during school time. Caltrans was willing to think outside the box, go outside their process and procedures and get emergency power in there, get a generator in there. They actually fished another hard line over to get eventually what will be permanent power to there. And they've been great to work with. We've worked it out with the water department. We're in construction and fixing the great sinkhole of Scotts Valley of 2026. But I just want to acknowledge the great work that your team did, how they collaborated with us and how they thought outside the box to really make sure that the need was met. I know I'm oftentimes on Caltrans' case about cost overruns, but I'm fair and I want to give praise where it's due, and they did an excellent job. So thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Hurst.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just want to compliment Caltrans as well for its work in Watsonville, specifically on the Highway 152 Main Street slide. It's been a long, slippery slide, and it's finally getting repaired. And that takes some time, but thank you for your expertise on that. And thanks also for your expertise on Highways 129 and Highway 1, and particularly the slides in Big Sur. That has an effect community regional wide, and so it does prove that Caltrans can move mountains, and so hats off to Caltrans. Thank you.
Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here and for the report. I just had two items related to Highway 9. The first was in reference to the caller who talked about some of the temporary measures that are going on Highway 9 and Felton related to the safe streets improvements. Can you speak to anything that can be done during the daytime hours when the work isn't happening that could potentially?
After the call, I texted our office chief over that area and asked him to look into that. So at our next commission meeting, we'll have somebody to report back.
Wonderful, I appreciate that. I know it's a work in progress, and I'm seeing the progress every day, so I appreciate it. The other thing that's a work in progress is the completion of the Emergency Prospect Avenue retaining wall project. It is in Boulder Creek, or between Brookdale and Boulder Creek, and there's been some one-way traffic. Do you have a sense of, I think that the one-way traffic was supposed to be done in January, went through it this week, and it's still at that point. Do you have any update on when that might be completed?
I do not, but I can get back to you by the end of the meeting.
Great. Well, just appreciate the work. The project is looking good, but our commuters are calling me up frequently about that one way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing no others, I'm going to go to public comment.
Hi, Brian Peoples with Trail Now. Thank you for coming to our community. And last month, Mr. Cummings from your organization came and gave a presentation on the rail corridor ID plan. And we came back to him and asked him for selection criteria, how our little branch that's off the main line was selected. We did a public information request, and it's coming down to the deadline. I haven't seen the material yet. We really want to understand how Caltrans can go and say that we're going to have this new rail line connected to the main rail line. It didn't really make a lot of sense to us. It's kind of like having a dead-end street added to a highway. You know what I mean? So we're really looking for the public information on the selection criteria. How did our little branch get selected as part of the rail corridor, the main one that goes virtually from this entire state of California? We have this little branch. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Plus, you have the Coastal Commission doesn't. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, anybody over Zoom?
Mr. Helmer?
Thank you. Two speed limit related items. Several years ago, maybe a decade, Amy Naranjo worked with Supervisor McPherson. I also worked with both of them to successfully get the speed limit reduced on Highway 17 on the last 1 mile downhill grade into Scotts Valley from 65 to 55. And I just want to reflect back and thank Amy for spearheading that, coordinating. On the same note, in May of 2024, this RTC board unanimously recommended a speed limit reduction in Ben Lomond. And in May of 2025, 12 months later, it was reported by Caltrans that it had been approved to go from 30 miles per hour to 25. As we approach February of 2026, there is still no speed limit reduction.
Thank you.
We have no other speakers.
I'll bring it back and close it up. So thank you for that report. And I'm going to go on to item number 19, Commissioner Committee appointments. So, luckily we have a lot of people that, wanted to volunteer. So it was a hard choice to make, for the next, committee assignments for the Budget and Personnel Committee. So my report is, I want to try to appoint Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Keeley, Commissioner De Serpa, Commissioner Cummings, and Koenig for this year, Budget and Personnel Committee. So,
Can you say that again?
yes. Clark, Haley, De Serpa, Cummings, and Koenig, and myself. And with that, I'm going to make that motion.
I'll second.
But I'm going to go out to the public first. Can anybody have public comment on this item for the appointment for the Budget and Personnel Committee? Seeing none, anybody over Zoom?
No.
With that, it's been first and second. Can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Keeley? Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Montesino?
Yes.
Commission Alternate Hurst?
Aye.
Commission Alternate Schifrin?
Aye.
Commissioner DeSerpa?
Aye.
Commissioner Koenig?
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez?
Aye.
Commissioner Downey?
Aye.
Commissioner Leonor?
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. So now we're going to go on to our main event is number 20 is response to the Commissioner's request for December 2025 termination to the Administration Coordination of and License Agreement with Progressive Rail, Inc. to assume common carrier status for the Santa Cruz branch line and cooperative agreements for the Coastal Rail Trail segments 8 and 9 and 10 and 11. And with the addition of, can you state the additional?
Right. The additional consideration which the commission, this item is the curative action. So this is what the commission has already authorized, item 20, because that does, part of this item specifically does present for commission consideration and public input the issue of whether or not to terminate the ACL. The second part of it on the irrevocable commitment, I can walk the commission through that one at the end of your consideration of this item. Okay.
Thank you. And now staff report.
Before you begin, I'm going to recuse myself due to a conflict of interest.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Downey.
My name is Isabella Cressman, Real Property Specialist for the RTC, and I will be presenting today alongside Grace Blakesley, Senior Transportation Planner for item 20 on the agenda. Next slide, please. Today, we will address the requests from the Commission at the December 4th RTC meeting to deliver a framework for pursuing long-term passenger rail planning, advancing the Coastal Rail Trail project in the near term through the interim trail configuration without the need for adverse abandonment or rail banking, and to assess project delivery approach for preservation of the Capitola Trestle. Today, we are recommending for approval the formal termination of the administrative coordination and license agreement with St. Paul and Pacific Railroad, a subsidiary to Progressive Rail and the current rail operator, so that the RTC may become the common carrier for all or a portion of the Santa Cruz branch rail line. And we are presenting for approval Coastal Rail Trail cooperative agreements with the City and County of Santa Cruz. Next slide, please. At the recent December 4th RTC meeting, the Commission accepted the project concept report for the Zero Emission Passenger Rail and Trail, or ZEPERT, project between Pajaro and Santa Cruz, and pledged their commitment to implementing long-term passenger rail. As part of the project's peer review process, which was completed last fall, recommendations were made for the RTC to take steps to have more control over rail operations on the branch line. Active rail service on the branch line is shown in this map. Freight use is shown in blue around Watsonville up to milepost 3, and active recreation from Roaring Camp's beach train shown in green near the boardwalk. The RTC acquired the branch line in 2012 to support multimodal transportation options in Santa Cruz County, and much of the line was in disrepair and investment in its infrastructure to be used for rail purposes. As you can see, this is shown in red as the non-operational portion of the line. As a condition of the state funding granted for the acquisition, the RTC committed to maintaining recreational and freight rail use and services as long as required by the Surface Transportation Board. Also, as a part of this purchase, a freight easement was retained by Union Pacific and the common carrier status. A common carrier holds the freight easement and has the obligation to serve freight customers upon reasonable demand. The freight easement has been transferred to 2 common carriers since 2012. The current common carrier, as mentioned, is St. Paul and Pacific Railroad, subsidiary to Progressive Rail, and they are under the ACL agreement with the RTC that expires in 2028. Also, as mentioned, the Zeppert peer review included recommendations for the RTC to take to advance rail service, including modifying the ACL agreement to reflect the current freight and recreational rail limits for the line, or becoming the common carrier. When a public agency who owns a rail line serves as the designated common carrier for freight, it allows for more direct coordination between freight and passenger rail. One example of this is the Sonoma-Marin Area Rail Transit, or SMART agency in Northern California, who operates both freight and passenger rail service on their line. There are options for how the RTC could utilize the inoperable portions of the corridor temporarily until rail infrastructure is repaired or replaced in the long term through development of a passenger rail project, including alternative out-of-service designations, but which must be made by the common carrier. It is the responsibility of the common carrier to implement these out-of-service designations when freight service cannot be reliably provided. It has also been the responsibility of the common carrier to maintain portions of the line north of their current operations that end at milepost 3, for which the RTC continues to maintain and repair. After months of uncooperative negotiations to address these issues and to amend the ACL, the RTC issued a notice of termination to Progressive Rail with the intent to become the common carrier for all or a portion of the branch line. Becoming common carrier will enhance the RTC's ability to implement the regional vision for rail corridor while making our agency more competitive for state and federal grants through having full control of our right-of-way. The RTC-owned branch line continues to be included in the Central Coast Corridor, one of 5 corridors statewide selected for the service development planning process, which will result in the branch line being eligible and more competitive for future railroad administrative grants in the long term. Also, at the recent January 15th meeting, commissioners received a presentation from the Caltrans Division of Rail about the Federal Railroads Administration's Corridor ID program. The approach for near-term coastal rail trail implementation and long-term passenger rail implementation aligns with these mentioned rail planning efforts, the Coastal Rail Trail, and the 2024 California State Rail Plan. Staff therefore recommends that the Commission adopt the resolution today to formally terminate the administration, coordination, and license agreement with St. Paul and Pacific Railroad, subsidiary to Progressive Rail, Inc., and authorize the Executive Director to take the necessary administrative steps for the RTC or its designee to become common carrier of the Santa Cruz branch line. Becoming common carrier is a necessary step for developing transportation solutions along the branch line, protecting the public's interest, and preserving rail uses on the line, such as the existing freight in Watsonville and recreational rail use by Roaring Camp's beach train at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Thank you.
So in addition to the services that Bella was discussing, the RTC has contemplated a trail within the Santa Cruz branch rail line, as well as those other services discussed by Bella, with the most notable effort being the development of the Monterey Bay Sanctuary Scenic Trail Plan, Master Plan in 2014. Since then, RTC has been working closely with partner agencies to develop these projects in segments and phases over time, and several other steps have been taken since the adoption of that master plan. This map, many of you have seen before. It's a helpful reference to indicate how the trail is being developed in segments for the purposes of facilitating project delivery. For the focus of today's discussion are agreements for continued development of segments 8 through 11. These are segments shown near the middle of the image and extend from Beach Street in the city of Santa Cruz to State Park Drive. Segments 8 and 9 are combined into one project being led by the city of Santa Cruz, and segments 10 and 11 are combined into another project being led by the county of Santa Cruz. Before I review these cooperative agreements, I want to make a few comments about the other segments. As noted earlier in comments, segment 5 to the north of the county is, in the northern part of the county, is under active construction and is shown here in blue. Although there is asphalt constructed in some areas, the segment is not yet open to the public. It is adjacent to active agricultural operations, and the public should not utilize this area until the project is completed, which includes fencing and signage to prevent trail users from accessing agricultural lands. The segment south of the segments 8 through 11, shown in pink, are also advancing, with the most recent update regarding The most recent update provided to the commission was to procure pre-construction services for these segments. RTC staff conducted interviews yesterday and will return to the RTC for contract approval in the spring once negotiations are complete. All of these projects are funded by a combination of federal, state, and local Measure D funds. Measure D funds are critical for leveraging the state and federal funds, but are not intended to fully fund all of these projects. Next slide, please. This slide walks you through a timeline for development of segments 8 and 9 and 10 and 11. They've been under development since 2018 for segments 8 and 9 and 2020 for segments 10 and 11. RTC has programmed Measure D funding for these segments to leverage those state and federal grants, with a significant action taken by the Commission in May 2022, which provided matching funds for the California Active Transportation Program grants that were received. Most recently, in November 2025, RTC approved funds for final design by advancing funds for segments 10 and 11 and programming new funds for segments 8 and 9 as requested by the City of Santa Cruz. Segments 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 completed their environmental phase in 2023 and 2024 respectively. Completing the environmental phase is a really important part of the project development. As part of that environmental phase, 2 alignments were considered. These alignments are referred to as ultimate trail configuration, where the trail is constructed next to the railroad track alignment, and an optional first phase referred to as the interim trail configuration, where the trail is constructed on the center line of the existing railroad tracks. As part of the CEQA environmental process, the city and the county took action to approve the ultimate trail configuration as the preferred project. However, since then, additional new information has become available concerning the feasibility of constructing the ultimate trail configuration in these locations and segments. In response to potential cost increases, which were primarily a result of increases in unit cost, design features requiring retaining walls, bridges, and viaducts, as well as escalation, the RTC, in coordination with the city and county, undertook an effort to look for design and construction cost reduction strategies, referred to as a value engineering analysis. This effort identified several cost reduction strategies that were presented to the Regional Transportation Commission in October 2024. But these cost reduction strategies identified were only a relatively small portion of the cost increases overall. In August 2025, the city and the county provided revised cost estimates for segments 8 and 9 and 10 and 11, and this commission was presented to the RTC in September, showing that there was approximately an $80 million funding gap. In light of this, the RTC discussed strategies for delivering the ultimate trail configuration in phases or seeking additional funding. We also discussed at that time that the impact of it programming additional Measure D funding would have downstream funding impacts on future segments. Also in October 2025, the staff, in coordination with the city and county, presented options for reducing the project scope, which included reducing the number of miles of trail constructed, and also discussed potential funding risks, which led to discussions directly with funding agencies about reducing the length of the trail. In light of those challenges, RTC directed staff to return in November with cost estimates for preparing the final design for both the interim trail and the ultimate trail, as well as to return with details about moving forward development of the segments 13 through 20 in the southern portion of the county. RTC presented cost estimates for the interim trail design at that time, and based on the cost estimates for the interim trail, staff projects that the interim trail could be constructed within available funds with no or minimal additional programming of Measure D funds based on current cost estimates. We know that cost estimates are updated throughout the cycle, and staff is currently working on integrating these cost estimates into the cash flow model in preparation for bringing additional information to the regional. In December 2025, in combination with discussions about the zero-emission passenger rail and trail project, the RTC directed staff to return with actions to consider to advance the interim trail configuration. Next slide, please. So that brings us to today's discussion regarding cooperative agreements for segments 8 and 9 and amendment to the cooperative agreement for segments 10 and 11. So what is a cooperative agreement in this context? It's essentially a contract between partner agencies for delivering projects of mutual interest and benefits to all parties involved. The cooperative agreements before you today address roles and responsibilities for pre-construction phases of the trail projects. These include the environmental phase, preliminary design, and right-of-way. For example, the cooperative agreements identify which agency is leading and responsible for the work and which agencies are supporting specific tasks. These cooperative agreements also define the project description that the parties agree to design and complete other pre-construction activities for. The proposed agreements identify the interim trail configuration as the project description based on the RTC's action in December to take action to implement the interim trail as expeditiously as possible for segments 9 through 11. Also at the December meeting, RTC directed staff to return with designs for an interim trail that included an alternative that does not require removal or complete covering of the tracks. As part of the design process, the City of Santa Cruz and the County of Santa Cruz, in consultation with RTC staff, will consider options for preserving the existing tracks where feasible, or that do not require removal or complete covering of the tracks. There was a replacement page to the Segment 10 project description included as attachment to Exhibit B to remove language that was a carryover from prior text associated with the interim trail description, specifically indicating that the trails would be removed. This was inadvertently shown as incorrect, and the exhibit attachment to Exhibit B corrects that. Again, the cooperative agreement now includes the language as part of the design, only includes the language as part of the design process. The city and the county of Santa Cruz will consider options for preserving the existing tracks where feasible. The cooperative agreement also identifies what funding are committed to these projects. From RTC's perspective, this is the mechanism for which RTC approves the city and county to invoice the RTC for Measure D related activities specific to these projects. Next slide, please. At the December meeting, RTC also directed staff to bring back to the commission options for retrofitting the historic Capitola trestle for an interim bicycle and pedestrian use as quickly as possible. It's important for the RTC and the public to understand that the Capitola trestle any improvements to the Capitola trestle are not included in the project scope of the cooperative agreement for segments 10 and 11, since that work will be developed independently as a separate future project. However, the city of Capitola and RTC have expressed over the years concepts for converting the existing Capitola trestle to the bicycle and pedestrian trail temporarily and in the near term. Attachment 3 in your staff report describes the work that's been completed to date for that effort. One important piece of that is in 2021, RTC completed a Capitola Railroad Bridge repurposing conceptual study. Although the study recommended structural repairs and modifications for conversion to the trail and concluded planning level cost estimate work, it did not include the cost of seismically retrofitting the structure to allow for trail use. So accurately determining the extent of the seismic retrofit work would require a full structural inspection and other geotechnical testing and seismic analysis. And this would occur as part of a separate project in the early project development activities. Staff is suggesting that the city of Capitola be the implementing agency for this project with technical support and oversight by RTC. That concludes my report. In addition to the recommendations that were mentioned by Bella, RTC staff is recommending that the commission adopt a resolution to enter into a three-way cooperative agreement with the City of Santa Cruz and County of Santa Cruz for pre-construction activities, as well as amending the cooperative agreement with the County of Santa Cruz for pre-construction activities as well. And finally, the recommendation is also to amend the 5-year plan to add budget in approximately $70,000 for RTC oversight of segments 8 through 11 related to the interim trail, which is work that was not anticipated previously. Thank you.
So with that, questions? Commissioners? None? Oh, Commissioner Clark.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Just a couple of questions here, taking a look at this three-part report, essentially, that we have here. I want to focus a little bit on the ACL agreement termination. And there was a question earlier online, and we've kind of discussed this before, but can we discuss a little bit about how this, should the commission terminate the agreement, how might that affect the current freight operators as well as the Roaring Camp train that comes down to the boardwalk.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. The RTC is taking all actions to ensure that there is no disruption to active freight service. We have a RFP that's currently out for solicitation seeking a common carrier for the operations in the Watsonville area to ensure there's no discontinuation to the active freight. And likewise, there would be no impacts to the beach train or the RTC to take on the common carrier status north of milepost 3.
So essentially, we would be committed to business as usual for those who are currently using us for freight as well as the recreational excursion train.
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent. And this one might go to Director Christensen here. Do we feel we have the staff capacity to take this on based on everything that might be involved with this?
Sure. So becoming the common carrier, I just want to make it clear that we would be contracting for the actual operations. So we would be considered a non-operating common carrier. And that would just be another contract to manage. So we would be assuming, the commission acts to terminate the contract, we would enter into a new contract. So that's not really going to increase our work, especially since for the grand majority of the line, including the section that Progressive Rail is required to maintain, the commission, we've been maintaining it, and we do that through, we solicit services for that. We hire construction contractors to do the maintenance. So we're already doing the maintenance. It doesn't really change anything from an operational, functional standpoint of our agency, so we don't see any need to look at our staffing for this change.
So we feel pretty good that this is not going to overburden our staff. This is something we can take on and handle.
Correct.
Very good. And then just finally, the report does state that there's no fiscal impact with it, but we anticipate there might be some costs, like things like additional insurance and things like that. Is there some idea or a rough order of magnitude of what that might look like for us? We don't have to be specific, but just what might that look like?
We don't have that information today, but we'll definitely be bringing more information as it becomes available.
I'm betting we'll hear more about that as it comes up. Yeah, absolutely. Those are all the questions I have for right now.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner De Serpa.
Hi, Sarah. What would be the benefit of becoming the common carrier on the line? What are the benefits there?
Well, the commission purchased this line for public use, and we don't have discretion over our line. And so if we want to use it, it's really in the commission's best interest to take on this common carrier obligation. It is an obligation, but it's also to achieve the main benefit and the whole point of buying the corridor, which is to bring it into public ownership and use it. So.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jensen.
Yeah, and just recollection being the new commissioner, there was in the past a letter from Progressive before about trying to get out of this. Could you just help me refresh that again?
Sure. We have had a lot of correspondences over the years with Progressive, and I recall back around the time of the pandemic, they were operating freight in Watsonville. That's their main business is freight, and the customers being in Watsonville. And I recall a big customer that decided to change how they ship their goods, and they no longer shipped goods via rail, and that was a big hit to their business. And at that time, because their revenue dropped so drastically, they sent us various correspondences, letters kind of back and forth to, I think they noticed us to abandon the line. And then they were also trying to, use other ways of getting out of the agreement without having to pay the buyout. Basically, the agreement, the way it's set up is, and the way it was negotiated back in 2018, was that if either party wanted out of the agreement early, that we would, without cause or whatever, it would be to buy out, I think it was $300,000, or I don't have the exact language in front of me, but a monetary amount to get out of the agreement. And they did not obviously want to pay that amount. And so anyway, we traded letters with them back in 2020 through about 2022. They ended up finding another solution that did not include abandonment of the line or termination of the agreement at that time. And so it's been in that condition since 2022 that they basically contracted out to the local railroad, which is Roaring Camp, to serve the freight customers in Watsonville. And they remobilized and went back to Minnesota, and they don't have any staff or assets that we're aware of down here anymore.
Perfect. Thank you. And I know you don't have the contract in front of you, but was that $300,000, was that like on a prorated amount, or was that just a one-time shot? It doesn't matter anytime the contract?
It was not prorated, so it would have been one.
Okay. Thank you so much for that clarification.
Commissioner Hurst.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This is a lot to pack into one agenda item. I don't know if those items need to be separated or not, but from what I understand, the cooperative agreement and the ACL, when you look at the paper trail of correspondence between the parties, there's a lot of he said, she said, we did this, you didn't do that, we didn't do that, you did that. It's a little hard to know what's really true as far as what kind of repairs were actually done. The paper trail on the invoices or the purchase orders, the billing has never been presented. There's some inspections that they're inconclusive or they're in dispute. So there's a lot of dispute through all this stuff that it probably won't ever be sorted out with us in the room. It'll be probably more in a jury or a court of some kind. So I'm a little gun shy on a couple of these items. It's my understanding the rails will remain in place.
I could take that one. So the commission in December, as part of the various direction that they gave, included investigation of an option that does not require the removal of the tracks. And we cannot really perform that investigation fully until these cooperative agreements are approved, in place, executed, so that the partner agencies, the implementing agencies for the trail projects, can proceed with that investigation and analysis. So we don't have an answer today on whether that is a feasible option, but we plan to return to the commission at a later date once the investigation and analysis is complete.
In regards to the common carrier, what does it really take to qualify as a common carrier? Can some agency just come in and do that off the street, or they have to have engines, they have to have staff, they have to have, what's the qualifications, and who decides who's a common carrier?
That would be the Surface Transportation Board. That makes.
Pardon?
That would be the Surface Transportation Board. It's a federal agency, and they approve of the common carrier status.
And do you know what their criteria are to become and maintain common carrier status?
I'll go ahead and take that one. So the common carrier, according to RTC's Railway Council, Eric Hockey, you can be either an operating common carrier or a non-operating common carrier on the line. If you're a non-operating common carrier, you still have to facilitate the movement of freight on the line where freight can move. And so if you are the actual common carrier, you have to either have the equipment and the staffing to be able to do it, or you have to be able to contract for that. Right now, the arrangement that exists in Watsonville is that Progressive is the common carrier, but they don't actually provide the services. They've contracted with Roaring Camp to provide those services. RTC as the common carrier could do the same thing, both as a operating or a non-operating common carrier.
Okay, that's a lot of speculation for the future in many respects. You know, there's just a lot to absorb in this, and especially with the shadow of legal activity looming over it. I'm not sure where we're going with that. Is there any other examples of folks that have done this kind of work that you can point to that are positive examples?
Yeah, as I mentioned in the presentation, Sonoma Marin Area Rail Transit Agency, they serve as common carrier and they have freight and passenger rail options. And I understand that it allows them to have more control and flexibility to facilitate having both operations on their rail line.
Well, it sounds like a lot of bandwidth is required. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Conley?
Chair, yeah, thank you. I just want to sort of dispute Commissioner Hurst's characterization of our relationship with Progressive and the work that's been done on the line is sort of a he said, she said situation. I mean, my recollection is that particularly up to milepost 7, we did extensive repairs. I mean, something in the neighborhood of $5 million or so. Executive Director Christensen, can you correct me on the exact figure?
We did an emergency repair of a timber trestle at milepost 4.87, and that was about order of magnitude about $1 million emergency repair because the bridge was in danger of collapsing under its own weight. That was in 2020. And then also in 2020, we began construction on repair of 2 washouts that occurred as part of the 2017 disasters. And that amount was, I want to say in the magnitude of about $4 million total.
Right. So we were making every effort to uphold our end of this contract to bring the line into an operable state. We did that, and then there was numerous inspections that we undertook to demonstrate that the line was in an operable state. And instead of, I mean, instead of respecting that and abiding by the contract, Progressive turned around and said, no, we don't think it's in an operable state. We invited them to come do their own inspections. They didn't even show up. They didn't even book a flight. I mean, they didn't even hire someone on the ground to come look at it. I mean, this is complete, like, bad faith acting. And then, you know, we get to a point where we need some cooperation with them in order to bring a new use to the line. And I mean, I think we were making some progress for a minute there with Progressive Rail. And then they turn around and start making outrageous demands of us. I mean, are we at liberty to say some of the demands that they're making of this agency in order to...
Commissioner, can you repeat the last
I mean,
question?
in some of our negotiations with Progressive Rail, can we talk about some of the demands they're making of this agency as far as, you know, monetary compensation or anything?
I don't recommend that we have those discussions because we were having, that was part of confidential real property negotiations between the parties. I can say that was substantially in excess of what the ACL anticipated as buyout provisions for both parties. There's a buyout provision for Progressive, and there was a buyout provision that applies to RTC. So in both instances, the parties had previously negotiated in the ACL that those values would be $300,000.
Right, many times in excess. So, I mean, this is clearly not a good business partner. And I think I'm fully supportive of the actions today to terminate this agreement and move on so that we can provide utility to Santa Cruz County residents with the branch line, our property. Thank you.
Commissioner Clark.
Yeah, and just one more comment to add to that too. In taking a look at what kind of a partner Progressive Rail has been, I just bring everybody's attention back to when we needed their collaboration and their cooperation to help alleviate a community emergency, and that being the Seabright area. And us needing them to be willing to look outside the box, work with us, and do something that was going to provide some meaningful relief for our local community. They treated us like a non-local entity might in this situation. And they shut down that opportunity that was brought forward by Commissioner Keeley, which I thought was a brilliant plan to try to provide some relief. And they weren't even willing to work with us on that, on a non-operating, non-functional part of the line. So it just gives you some idea of what we're up against and why we might be in a better position to control things locally because we understand our community, we understand the needs, and we're willing to go outside the box to meet those needs.
Thank you, Commissioner Hurst.
Well, I understand those terrible aspects of liability, and I think that that's the excuse that we were handed, that it's too much liability, and would you like to share some of that? And of course, nobody wants to share liability for things they can't control. And regarding, Ms. Christensen, all those monies that we spent in repair that we thought the common carrier should be doing, did we ever bill Progressive? Were they invoiced for the stuff that we paid for that they were supposed to pay for?
Per Section 5 of the ACL agreement, the RTC was obligated to make those repairs because that was why the previous common carrier kind of bailed out of our line, is because there was a disaster and they claimed, act of God, and they wanted out of the ACL agreement. So as a condition to entering into the ACL agreement, RTC actually agreed to do these repairs, so the storm damage washouts, and the bridge at milepost 4.87, which was deemed out of service. And we completed that part of it. We notified them of, the Section 5 being complete, and sent them a letter to basically notify them that they're responsible for maintenance from this point forward. And since that time, we have requested that they maintain. Most recently, we were trying to inspect our line using the high rail truck, and we were unable to because of the overgrown vegetation. So we had to, we have to hire our own contractor to go out there and pay for it and use RTC funds for that. And it's not something that we're obligated to do in the ACL. And so that's, part of the challenge that we have with Progressive is they're not holding up their end of the bargain after we made significant investments to complete our obligations under the ACL agreement.
So I gather we didn't ever bill them or invoice them for the materials and the time of the repairs that we thought they were supposed to do but did in return.
My recollection is RTC did invoice them for some of those costs and they weren't paid.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Can you speak to, are you familiar with that?
Is the question if we invoiced them for all of the work that we've
No,
done?
just the maintenance work we've done after they should have accepted phase 1.
We have submitted at least one invoice request, and we advised them of work that needed to be done, and we were planning to invoice them for that additional maintenance work that was done. As Sarah mentioned, we weren't able to access the area for inspection purposes, and I think negotiations began at that time, and that was the reason we did not submit that second invoice.
After they got invoiced, what happened?
I don't believe we ever received.
We never received any payment, no.
Thank you.
Commissioner Martinez?
Thank you for all the information provided in this agenda item. I'd like to just ask a few clarifying questions or further detail as it relates to the cooperative agreement part. Can you just kind of lay out the next steps related to the design of the interim trail? Are you starting with, the work that's already been done? Are you, there was some board or commission direction around keeping the rails intact. How will you go about that?
I'll give a high level, and if you want more detail, I can ask our partners at the city and county to discuss that. As Sarah mentioned, a key piece of approving the cooperative agreements is to allow the city and county to access some of those funds to complete additional analysis and investigation. To date, approximately 30% design schematic plans were completed for an interim trail that does not include keeping the tracks in place, and that was done in order to support the environmental document review that was completed for the county in 2024. So before moving forward with the additional design, we intend to advance this investigation analysis of other options and then proceed with direction from the commission to move towards final design.
And would you anticipate then the EIR work that's been done to date would need to be redone, or do you amend that?
I expect that we would require, what?
We're not sure yet because it depends on kind of the improvements that we move forward with.
And in the, I guess, exploration of options, design options, is that a contractor that we hired to do that? Is that our teams, and who holds the contract?
We're still exploring options for that. We do have, city and county are under contract with the designer who completed the prior schematic plans, so that would be one option to continue to work with them, but there are other options that we'll explore. We have not advanced that work yet.
And if, we've heard from members of the public about other examples in other communities that may work for our community, would a contractor be open to receiving feedback? How does that feedback process happen, where they might be able to hear about other designs that are being proposed from residents who are interested?
That process would occur through for the County of Santa Cruz to receive input on different design options, but then it would be at the discretion of the county to direct their contractor or their designer to design something that seemed appropriate and was supported by their bodies.
So I guess for the community engagement part of it, does it happen at the county board meeting, or would it happen here at the RTC, or will there be? Is this the body where people should speak during public comment to provide feedback? I'm just sort of looking at where the avenues would be appropriate.
I think this body would be an appropriate place as a starting point, but then subsequent action may be required by the county board of supervisors as well, or the city as well.
And then just a reminder of the timeline. When would the commission expect that you would come back to us with a possible design and cost associated?
It's a good question. We have not developed a schedule yet, but certainly it would take us a few months. Great. So I would expect not earlier than late spring.
Late spring, you said? Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for helping. I think as a relatively new commissioner, thinking about the design of the interim trail and sort of the process there, I think we probably have a number of new commissioners on here, so we look forward to just hearing the whole picture at some point, the whole plan, because there was some work done in the past, and since it's a relatively new concept for a number of us, it'll be helpful to get those details when they're done.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rob Tidmore, Principal Planner with the County of Santa Cruz and the Project Manager for segments 10 and 11. I just wanted to provide a little bit more detail for the context of your question. So when the Commission gave staff direction in December to look at interim trail alternatives, myself and Matt Starkey, the Transportation Manager for the City of Santa Cruz, who's leading the segments 8 and 9 project, have been working with various stakeholders in the community that are interested in these options. They suggested some options such as the trail up in Humboldt. And so Mr. Starkey and I both looked at those options, analyzed them at a staff level, and we to be quite frank, have found some, potential issues with some of those ideas in terms of safety or liability or simply constructability or the additional costs that might be associated with those options. But as part of the contract amendment that I'm planning to bring to the Board of Supervisors at the end of February, we will be including scope for our consultants, RM Design Group, to do a more in-depth analysis of what these alternatives look like. So there'll be a rigorous investigation of various alternatives of the interim trail. And I agree with Ms. Blakesley that having the discussion or public comment about those alternatives is appropriate to happen at this body. So that process will take, we won't be under contract until the end of February, so I don't anticipate we'll have, alternatives ready until sort of the May, June timeframe.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarity.
Any other commissioner questions? Seeing none, I'll go up to public comment.
Brian Peoples, Trail Now. We fully support that RTC become the common carrier, minimize the money. The environmental impact report is for the interim trail and the ultimate trail. You change it, you're going to have to do revisions on it. Remember, we are on a deadline. We don't want to lose that to millions of dollars. Most important, I think the people of Watsonville should realize, as they keep spending a lot of money for an expensive, elaborate trail, that's less for South County and less for Watsonville. Right now it's 70% of the funds have gone to Santa Cruz, and what did you guys get, 8%? After this is done, they're gonna have gotten 90%. So every time you all ask well, can you cover the tracks? Can you do these options? No, let's do an affordable trail. Let's do an affordable trail so Watsonville and South County can get a trail, because they're taking all their money. They're having great parties. They tell us about how great their trail is. I went up to the North Coast. It's a phenomenal trail. First thing I think of is I think of Watsonville, how sad it is that you guys get nothing. And if they keep trying to keep those tracks and cover them, you're going to get even less. So let's build the interim trail the way that it was proposed in the EIR. And let's move forward and let's meet that CTC deadline requirements. Am I over? Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else, public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners and Chair Montesino. Matt Farrell for Friends of the Rail and Trail. We want to let the Commission know that we support moving forward with an interim trail agreement that includes the alternative of maintaining the rails as part of the trail. There is a clear example of this in Humboldt Bay that includes a rail and a trail over a bridge with flange fillers. It opened in June of 2025, and it is affordable. And secondly, what we would like to say is that we urge the Commission not to terminate the ACL. There may be issues about that agreement, but there currently is an operator, and if you terminate that agreement, I think it's going to be very hard to find an operator. And secondly, there will be issues at the STB.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Evans. At the January meeting of the RTC, Caltrans representative said that Caltrans will continue to sponsor us in the corridor ID program if we continue to say that we wish to implement passenger rail eventually, even if we remove the tracks. However, he also said that the FRA is the granting agency, and the FRA will be evaluating project readiness for moving from step 2 to step 3, and that project readiness will be impacted by local decisions such as track removal. Obviously, projects are less ready if they don't have railroad tracks than if they do. So removing the tracks would have a significant impact on our competitiveness to move forward with corridor ID, which we need for opportunity in all of our countywide, people need to be able to get places, not just ride bikes. So I urge you to keep that in mind when you make your decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Saladin Sale. Approved minutes of December's meeting confirm RTC directed staff to return with, quote, designs for interim trail that include an alternative that does not require removal or complete covering of the tracks, unquote. What's presented today does not comply with that direction and proposes a single design covering the tracks and prematurely steers the commission towards action that fails to preserve track availability. The missing design would build the preferred ultimate trail everywhere space allows trail next to the tracks and achieves the needed cost savings by sharing the roadbed in those areas where the costs of expensive new bridges, viaducts, and other infrastructure could be eliminated by building that section over the rails, using rubber rail flanges that permit safe bike operation while preserving rail usability. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tina Andrietta. Costs and plans for the missing trail design just described have already been completed for both ultimate and interim trail sections. And the only new cost would be transitions and flange installation in shared segments. The design would do three things. One, unites the community around a trail plan that actually preserves the operability of a rail corridor. Two, preserves maximum competitiveness for federal corridor ID Step 3 funding. Three, preserves the potential for a near-term interim streetcar-based rail pilot project originated in the city of Santa Cruz during the trail phase. Please direct staff to provide the missing design they were charged with creating before prematurely revising cooperative agreements without considering superior designs. Lastly, we're here because the same people like to stop this project moving forward.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Russell Weiss. I'm going to be brief this morning. I just strongly support keeping the tracks and not covering them using materials, as it been mentioned, flanges, so that the tracks can stay in place. And there's already been a countywide vote on keeping rail. People in this county want it, so let's not let's not go against their wishes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Blake Charman. I'm just a guy. I'm not with any organization. I think that it's very important that we keep the rail. We all voted on this. I remember when we voted on this. And overwhelmingly, the people of the county, in every part of the county, wanted to keep the rail in place. And yeah, voter turnout was relatively low, but a little bit of math shows that you would need like 70% of the registered voters who didn't show up would need to be like for ripping out the rail in order to have changed the results of the election. So we're seeing at our federal level the results of defying the democratic will and what happens when governments don't listen to their people. And if I understand circumstances have changed, but if you guys really feel that things have changed that much, then give the people another chance to vote on it. Don't just make a decision in the back room. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Paula Bradley. Please do not remove the tracks or take any actions, including delays, which could jeopardize project readiness for Step 3 of the Federal Corridor ID program. Support the program and the ultimate trail for future public transportation. It's also an equity issue. Not everyone can drive a car and relies on public transportation or ride a bike, and for a recreational trail only. The coastal rail trail benefits the entire community. There's a substantial cost not to actively reduce carbon emissions and reduce, thousands of residential units are planned for the county and many do not have parking as they are near transportation hubs. More than ever, we need efficient public transportation, including Zeepert. Other light rail systems costs have been more like 40 million, not 4 billion. Please continue to pursue options to keep the trail. Thank you.
Seeing no one else in chambers, I'm going to go to Zoom.
We currently have.
There's one more. Anybody else, if you can, here in chambers? The last person.
Please move our rail and trail forward. I'm supportive of a streetcar trail alternative solution. Interim means temporary. By using asphalt rather than concrete, this alternative is more cost-effective because asphalt would not require jackhammers to remove it. Because the RTC would not be removing the tracks and would be using a more temporary approach, the RTC would be signaling to voters and to Caltrans that it is fully committed to completing our ultimate plan, our ultimate train design. We are now in the Corridor ID program, and it's important that we stay in the good graces of Caltrans. Please save our tracks so that we may continue to be competitive for rail grants. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to close it up here and go to Zoom.
We currently have 14 speakers. David?
Thank you. I'm David Schoenbrunn, president of Transdev. From our standpoint, you shouldn't be having this agenda item before you today. And if you do insist on having it, you should have separated into separate topics. Despite the overwhelming vote rejecting the Greenway initiative, this process is heading in the opposite direction. Underneath the pretty words about an interim trail, with these proposed actions, RTC is moving forward in a bald attempt to dismantle the rail line, just like Greenway failed to do at the ballot. Moving forward as planned would be a slap in the face to the 73% of county voters who said no to tearing out the tracks. People will be so angry that I wouldn't be surprised to see recalls if the commission follows through on its plans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack Brown?
Chair and Commissioners, thank you. I want to urge the Commission to avoid any consideration of flange filler solutions in the rail corridor. If you look at the existing rail, it's uneven, warped, and in poor condition. Now imagine trying to match a trail surface to that flange filler remains perfectly flush along that length. This isn't a bridge. This isn't a crossing. This is 4 miles. That is not realistic from a construction or maintenance standpoint. Any mismatch becomes a trip hazard, a wheel trap, or a crash point. You also end up with a dangerous combination of slick steel rails immediately adjacent to high grip rubber filler. That change in traction, especially in wet conditions, is a recipe for loss of control, and it's extremely difficult and expensive to maintain over time. Flange fillers are not a shortcut. In this context, they are a disaster in the making. The path forward is clear. Remove the tracks, build the trail correctly, and continue to study a feasible rail solution outside of the project's critical path. We can move forward now on something safe and usable without locking ourselves into a risky compromise. Let's focus on solutions that work in the real world and keep this project moving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Setti? It looks like you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. We'll come back and see if we can fix your mic. Zoom user?
Hello. I would like to say thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You've alleviated my worries about the freight. Hearing that it's the freight and commerce isn't going to be interrupted is definitely a sigh of relief. I do have some concern about replacing the carrier. Just wondering, I don't want to assume, but I'm assuming that you know who your already alternatives are that you might be contracting with. And just wondering if there isn't somebody that can take that contract, is there going to be somebody that knows how to coordinate with Roaring Camp, like a logistics professional coordinating freight with Roaring Camp and the businesses down there? And what I understand in all of history, once tracks are removed, they're never put back. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Setti? Michael Saint?
Yes, Commissioners. I started all this work back in 2016, and if I had done that meeting and not shown up until this meeting, I would kind of say to myself, they're still on the same subject. Nothing really has progressed in the last 10 years to speak of. Why can't we have a vision of congestion relief with new technology and realize the train with connections to Metro off of the corridor is an obsolete transportation system goal, yet we continue to throw money at it and now delay the project for possibly another 20 years. So that would be 30 years to actually put a shovel in the ground. PRT is a system that does not need the tracks nor the corridor, but it could work on that area. It can be built in a much shorter time frame at a quarter of the cost, increase ridership tenfold, and be environmentally more friendly. Please think outside the box and do something. Thank you.
Diane?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Foremost in your minds should be that our rail is fortunately part of the Federal Corridor ID program. Removing the rails would jeopardize the Santa Cruz branch line's progress in that program. If we remove or cover the rails, the Federal Rail Authority would consider our rail project as failing to make progress, and so we would not be competitive for the next phase of funding. That federal program pays 80% of the cost, and the remaining 20% would be shared between Caltrans and the RTC. Bottom line, the RTC must preserve the rails in place to stay competitive for these huge grants. Please do not sacrifice future transportation options for residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Dean?
Yes, I would like to let the commission know that I oppose any planning that includes removal of rails, because this will cause additional delay and costs for any future rail service. Removal of the rail specifically reduces our competitiveness for future rail funding. We will have to keep any interim trail intact for decades, or else face the CTC revoking the very funds you're trying to save. Please don't shoot yourselves in the foot thinking that it will save your reputation. Reject the interim trail and proceed with planning for the ultimate trail design. Respect the voters who said don't remove the rail. Remember that the CTC has also repeatedly told us not to remove the rail. I also doubt that the RTC is qualified to be a common carrier. You do not have the equipment or personnel to operate a railroad. We've been down this road twice before, and the STP has no obligation to recognize the RTC as common carrier.
Thank you.
Patrick M.
Hey, good morning. My name is Patrick. I'm a South County resident. First, I want to thank the Commission and staff for moving forward with the interim trail. That progress is important for South County, and I appreciate the work that's gone into it. I wanted to share a perspective on equity and funding, particularly for Watsonville and the South County communities. The reality is that when we pursue higher cost trail designs in Santa Cruz, it leaves fewer resources available for us in South County. Historically, Santa Cruz has received about 70% of active transportation program funding, while Watsonville has received closer to 8%, so 70% to 80%. With new investments now going to Capitola, that gap continues. From a South County perspective, the clearest path forward is to deliver the affordable interim trail. Doing so frees up funding and helps ensure a more balanced investment across the corridor. Finally, I encourage us to stay aligned with the approved interim trail and its environmental commitments so we avoid delays and protect funding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Praxel.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much. And I have a couple of questions actually for the Commission that I think would be helpful for both the public and the commissioners to discuss in a way that we all understand. One is, it was mentioned, of course, that common carrier status needs to be approved by the STB. And I wonder if you could explain what process is used for that and what is the order? How does that happen, or should that happen before further actions are taken? My second question is, there's an environmental document for both the interim trail and the ultimate trail. And if you move forward with a combination of those two, how do you address changes to those? Do you have to actually start over again, or can you revise one or the other? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ryan?
Yes, hello. Sometimes commissioners are required, or should be required, to speak truth to power and to apply wisdom and act from wisdom rather than from emotion or facts that actually are not factual. You've been hearing a lot of comments from people, preserve the rail, because it's going to provide transportation for so many people. It's going to reduce traffic on Highway 1. These things are not true. And when you hear about the vote, well, if you put on the ballot, would you like to pay a 12.5% sales tax instead of the current sales tax in order to support this thing, rather than your current sales tax, when you know that only 3,000 or 2,000 or 4,000 people a day are going to use it? Does everybody want to subsidize those people? No. So please, just apply wisdom to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lonnie Faulkner.
Hi, Commission. I stand corrected on the daily ridership of SMART, which averages closer to 5,000 a day. I'm an avid cyclist. I do about 85% of my shopping by bike, and I absolutely support rail. Lived in the county for close to 30 years. Close to 74% of this community supports passenger rail, and commissioners must take this seriously. We appreciate the clarification that the RTC does not intend to remove or hopefully cover the tracks for now. Pulling out or covering the tracks puts our rail project status, our status of the corridor ID, and the $70 million transportation grant at risk. We do not support the termination of the ACL with Progressive Rail. These actions could lead to lengthy litigation and require the STB to get involved. And contrary to Commissioner Koenig's statement, one can read the June 2022 letter from Progressive, which stated the RTC has not provided an independent inspector to confirm that the work required by the ACL was done. The RTC continues to deny this request, and therefore Progressive refuses to pay for work that it felt the RTC is responsible for per the ACL agreement. And several opponents...
Kevin McGuire. Mr. McGuire. Yanko?
Yes, hello. From the trains of yesteryear, like the beloved locomotives preserved by our friends at Roaring Camp, to the gleaming Shinkansen of Japan, rail has never been just nostalgia. Around the world, it is daily life, how nurses reach hospitals, how students reach classrooms, how working families reach opportunity. Santa Cruz County is changing. Our population is growing. Housing is being built with little or no parking. In this new reality, planning for equitable public transportation is not optional. It is essential. The so-called interim trail is not a solution. It would destroy the rail line and with it our best chance for clean, reliable mass transit. The interim trail would primarily serve households living comfortably above the area median income while failing the very people who depend on real transportation, service workers and students commuting across the county, seniors and residents with disabilities. We need vision, not short-sightedness. Protect the rail corridor, plan for passenger service, and build a system that moves all of Santa Cruz County forward, not just the fortunate few.
Thank you.
Kevin McGuire? Barry Scott? Barry, we can't hear you.
Hello, I hope you can hear me now. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Good, thank you. I hope commissioners will request more time to investigate the many questions before voting to make such a drastic change in direction for the use of our corridor and continue this matter to a later meeting. Unresolved matters include whether or not the Surface Transportation Board would entertain any kind of changes in the current condition, or whether or not they'd permit a county transportation, regional transportation agency to become a common carrier. We don't know. Delays are likely to occur. There's also, as Lonnie Faulkner pointed out, a disagreement on whether or not all of the actual work required under the ACL was done in the first 7 miles. So this is a huge move, and I think we need to act carefully and for commissioners to get all the information that they need before making such a drastic change. I thank you.
Ron Swenson?
Thank you. I'm Ron Swenson, and I want to report that just this morning at 5 a.m., I received a video from Gujarat, India, where a experimental and test track of a PodCar PRT system has been implemented and is going to be publicly displayed in a month. But I have available for any who want to see the tangibility and the viability of this new transportation form. And unlike what was proposed in San Jose, this system has significant economic advantages because the track is very narrow, the guideway, elevated guideway is very narrow, and it's pleasant to have in the environment. And I concur mightily that for heavy loads, it's perfectly reasonable to maintain the train track for future freight use and have passenger above the ground.
Thank you.
Sean?
Hi, in Yale Climate Connections per Anna Zivert, let's see, there's 30% of people in America cannot drive. And in a 2024 a Pew Research poll found that there's another 10% of people that rarely or never drive. Now, all these towns in Santa Cruz grew up around the rail corridor, and the fact that the infrastructure in those areas, including a lot of businesses, schools, hospitals, really reflects that. And when Measure D came up for a vote, the percentage of Americans with disabilities was about 16. It's gone up over 10%. This is a place where people come to retire. And Again, it's gone up over 10%. People are planning for their future. Disabled community wants long-term solutions.
Thank you.
James Wheeler? Mr. Wheeler?
Okay, now I'm unmuted. My message is 5 words. Do not remove the rails. There will be severe consequences that will follow if that is the case. The RTC should not take the risk of encountering those consequences. Furthermore, do not make further attempts to terminate the ACL. That is only going to lead you into unending litigation and conflict at the federal level. There's no need for it. It's nonsensical. The only purpose for it is to further the removal of the rails, which is the wrong course of action. So just don't do it.
Thank you.
Michael Lewis?
Hello, this is Jean Brocklebank. My husband, Michael Lewis, and I support the termination of the ACL and building the interim trail, especially in sections 9, 10, and 11. The big lie that we keep hearing is that 73% of county voters, and then Laney said 73% of the community, voted to not tear out the tracks. In point of fact, in 2022, there were 167,659 registered voters, and only 47% of those registered voters bothered to vote one way or another on Measure D. So the real figure of those who voted, registered voters in the county, to not tear out the tracks is 34%. Let's please stop the big lie. Thank you, RTC, for everything that you're doing on behalf of the interim trail.
Thank you.
We showed 3 more speakers. Michael Setti?
Can you hear me?
Just barely.
I was having trouble with my microphone.
We can hear you now.
How's it now? Hello?
We can no longer hear you. Sorry, Mr. Setti, we can't hear you. Kev Coast?
Hello, sorry, this is Kevin McGuire. I had to log them on with my computer too, so you can hear me now?
Yes.
All right, commissioners, thank you. I support building the interim trail now and preserving rail future through federal protections, but we need to be honest about equity, cost, and timing. Rail is being discussed as an equitable solution, yet we only have 7 recommended stations countywide, and the peer review recommended eliminating downtown Santa Cruz, the boardwalk, UCSC, and a majority of the destinations. For people with mobility challenge, a station more than 1/8 mile away is often unusable. My mother relies on Lift Line and Cruz for door-to-door. A train does not replace that. We should put this forever train tax on the ballot, and it will fail. Metro is asking for 0.5 cents, I believe another 0.5 cent for Measure D, and we rejected $500 million last year for fire stations. So let's build the interim trail now, save the grants, invest in Lift Line, Metro, Cruz, preserve future options, and don't sacrifice today's residents for a system decades away.
Thank you.
That is what real equity looks like.
Thank you.
Nazia, this will be our last speaker.
Okay, you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. This is Bob Hickman here. First off, I want to thank the RTC for all the work you're doing. I am in support of you terminating the ACL. with Progressive Rail since they've been very unresponsive and unwilling to work with us in the county. Also, regarding Measure D, and they keep bringing this up, I voted for Measure D back when it was told that it was going to be $110 million for this rail. Now we're up to $4.2 billion. I'm sorry, I can't support that. I would love to change my vote on that, and I think many others would as well, because I'm not in support of adding to our sales tax. Now, I know some people are saying, oh, 4.2 billion, that's way overestimated. Same group that came up with the cost estimates for SMART and the high-speed rail, the HDR engineering, they missed both of those. I don't know of any measure of this sort in the state of California that's ever come in under budget. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we're closing out public comment and moving back to the commission for direction. And I'm going to move staff recommendation on B, resolution administrative license agreement termination, resolution to a coastal rail trail cooperative agreements with measure, D, 5-year production plan, and D, Capitola Trestle conversion delivery. And with the added cure, if you can, relay that.
Yeah, no, we'll, I would recommend that the commission have your discussions and act on the 2 resolutions first, and then after that, we can continue that discussion to address the Brown Act cure and.
Okay. So these first, and then.
Yeah, you have 2 resolutions in the packet. One is related to termination of the ACL, one is related to the cooperative agreements, and so I would recommend the commission act on those first, and then we address the Brown Act issue.
So can I get a second?
I will second that.
So it's been first and second. Any other discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard.
I want to clarify that the motion includes not just the resolutions, but the amendments to the proposed amendments to the cooperative agreements. I assume that that's part of that motion.
Yes.
I have a number of comments. I want to first state that for the benefit of the audience, the ultimate trail is impossible. If it was possible to do it, the commission would do it. We don't have the $60 or $70 million that it would take to do the ultimate trail. So consideration of interim trail options is the only way we're going to get a trail in the Mid-County area, and the only way to save the grant. I'm supportive of the staff recommendation to really look at alternatives for maintaining as much of the trail off the tracks as possible. But that's not going to be possible to do the whole thing. We've learned that. It's sad, but it's true. The question is, what is feasible to do in terms of an interim trail that will require some use of the area where the tracks are, whether it means removing the tracks or not removing the tracks. I think those are the kind of options that staff is going to be looking at to try to find a way to to see if there's a feasible alternative that provides the trail, but keeps it off the tracks as much as possible. That is going to be a challenge. I do want to respond to one comment that was made by a member of the public that, frankly, I consider a bit of fear-mongering, and that is that somehow by having something other than the absolute minimum interim trail, South County is going to suffer. One of the things that I think the commission has committed to is that to the extent there's going to be an interim trail, it's going to be within the grant amount. The commission has allocated a great deal of Measure D money. We've now set aside other money for the South County trails. So in order for whatever interim trail options come forward, they're going to have to be within the grant amount. I think that I'm certainly not willing to support going beyond that, and I don't think a majority of the commission's going to be willing to support that. I want to say one more thing about the tracks, and I know it may come as a shock to the rail supporters, of which I'm among them. What we're really talking about, what we really want is passenger rail service. And equating it to retaining the tracks seems logical. But the Zephyr recommended removing all the tracks. So if the Zephyr recommendations were followed, the tracks would have to be removed anyway. I think it's important in moving forward with rail to be thinking beyond just what having the tracks. What we really need next for rail is an EIR on a rail, passenger rail service. And how are we going to get the money to do that EIR? Because a project that moves forward, that I think is what the corridor ID program is going to be looking for. Is our commission serious about moving forward with passenger rail service? And that may or may not mean we're going to keep the tracks, but we have to be taking steps to be serious about that we are serious about providing passenger rail service when it becomes feasible. I do want to say something about the agreement with Progressive Rail. I have a lot of views about that, but I really want to ask the attorney a question, because as I understand legally, the commission has the right to terminate the agreement with Progressive Rail to the extent that they are not carrying out their obligations. Therefore, they're in default, and therefore we have a right to terminate the agreement. I think that's kind of the bottom line, whether we like them or not, whether they've been cooperative or not. All of this other stuff really comes down to the question of, have they violated the agreement? Are they in default? So I'd like to ask our attorney to sort of summarize the ways that, from the commission's point of view, the agreement has been violated, thereby justifying the commission taking action to terminate it.
So the basis for the default and the termination of the ACL is really premised on two obligations that a Progressive has failed to satisfy. The first one is there is an obligation to provide freight car service at minimum numbers throughout the duration of the ACL, and Progressive has failed to do that for about the last 4 years. They have missed those targets, and the ACL is very clear that the failure to meet those alone is sufficient a basis for RTC to terminate the ACL. In addition to that, there's been discussion during the course of today's meeting about the maintenance obligations that are allocated, if you will, between RTC and Progressive Rail. And specifically, the ACL provides that for phase one between essentially milepost point 4 and milepost 7, so Watsonville north to milepost 7, that once RTC made certain improvements to that, which they completed, then the obligation to maintain that section of the line transferred over to Progressive Rail. Progressive Rail has not satisfied its maintenance obligations, notwithstanding the fact that RTC has notified them of these maintenance obligations, and has in fact had to go in and do the maintenance itself. RTC has at its own cost. And so those are the two bases upon which the ACL can be terminated. And on that second basis, there's a notice requirement and a right to cure, and RTC has provided ample notice through multiple correspondence, and Progressive has not cured. And so that's the second basis. There are two very direct bases under it. The parties, Progressive and RTC, did negotiate provisions to allow for the termination of the ACL, and these are part of those termination provisions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Hurst.
Thank you very much, Chair. You know, there's parts of this I like and there's parts of this I don't like, of course. I think it may be, you know, nobody's really happy with the ACL on either side of this. As I said earlier, it's a lot of he said, she said. There's a lot of documents that aren't necessarily supportive of either call on this. But I think now that you've got the attention of the SP&P or Progressive, whatever they like to be known by today, now that you got their attention, there might be some room for discussion and improvement. So I think that may be getting the cart ahead of the horse on this one. The cooperative agreement, clearly those need to be done and put together, but it's how they get done and put together that's kind of the unknown portion. You know, we bought a freight line in 2012. What the money for it was designated for passenger service. And so we're trying to deal with that conflict. And of course, some want to use the line as a bikeway only. And so there's some problems with that as well. I think we should retain the integrity of the rail line, stay within the corridor ID program, and when it comes to wisdom, as was said earlier, I think the wisest thing is to postpone this until we understand it a little bit better, but I don't think that's going to happen. So when you've got a lot of confusion and there's contradictory testimony and opinions on all this, I'm just going to vote no.
Thank you. Any of the commissioners? Commissioner
Just with all due respect, Lowell, Commissioner Hurst, I don't think this is a he said, she said thing. The RTC has scores of documentation with pictures, narrative, and pricing of all the repairs that they've completed on this line over the years. Is that correct, Sarah?
Correct.
So this is not a he said, she said thing. And so to evoke that, I think maybe causes confusion for the public. There should be no confusion on this. So is there a motion on this yet? There is?
Yes.
And a second, correct? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Keeley.
Thank you. Just a quick question. I'm wondering if alternate Commissioner Hurst could advise us whether or not you're speaking for your appointing authority or speaking for yourself.
I'm speaking for myself here.
Thank you.
With that, seeing no other comment? Oh,
I can't
Commissioner.
resist making one comment, which is if we waited around and postponed decisions because there were contradictory public testimony, we'd never do anything. Having sat here for a number of years, I can't remember a meeting when there hasn't been contradictory.
Well, thank.
Point well taken.
Well, thank you for that, and we're just going to get roll call. Thank you.
Commissioner Leonor?
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez?
Aye.
Commissioner Koenig?
Aye.
Commissioner DeSerpa?
Aye.
Commission Alternate Schifrin?
Aye.
Commission Alternate Hurst?
Nay.
Commissioner Montesino?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Keeley? Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
That passes with 1 no.
And with that, I'm going to move on to
Yes, and we're continuing on with the item that was added to the agenda as part of item 20. And this is related to the response to the letter that the commission received earlier this week from the TransDev organization. I would just note for the commission and the public's awareness and consideration that the letter challenges both the closed session, but also what they articulate or what they assert are the directions out of closed session. And specifically, that breaks into 3 categories. The first one is the issuance of the notice of default, which I will talk about separately and subsequently. And then secondly, there is an assertion that the commission authorized the RTC taking over as the common carrier and a request for proposals for the common carry. And I just want the record to be clear that the commission's direction did not involve either of those last two items. The issuance of the RFP is within the authority of the executive director, and that was her decision to do. And the commission gave no direction to take over as the common carrier, although we all understand that if you terminate the ACL, there does need to be a common carrier, but that's through the separate subsequent STB process. And so the commission doesn't have to take any action with regards to those two items because that you didn't give action or any direction on those as part of your prior closed session. With regards to the closed session, as we've indicated before, the commission did give the direction to issue the notice of intent regarding the default and to terminate, and that's what was sent out. And we believe that was an appropriate action. Nonetheless, the Brown Act, when you get a request to cure, provides an opportunity for the substantive item to be considered by a commission, a legislative body at a subsequent meeting, and that's in fact what you just did. The commission just considered in open session whether or not to issue the default notice, not the notice, but to take action to terminate the ACL based on the default. So there was ample opportunity. This item was agendized. It was acted upon. The public had an opportunity to provide testimony. So the commission's action that was just undertaken would be the cure action for the commission's direction to issue the notice of intent to terminate and the default. The second part of the letter, the Brown Act also allows folks who believe that who assert that there was a Brown Act violation to request that the agency cease and desist from that kind of activity in the future. And if the agency, without acknowledging that there was a violation, and again, we don't believe there was one, but without acknowledging that there was a violation, if the agency makes what's called an unconditional commitment to address those issues that were identified, then what that does is as long as the agency satisfies that unconditional commitment, it stops any litigation from going forward with regards to the Brown Act, alleged Brown Act violation. And so what I would recommend for the commission's consideration is that the commission make the following unconditional commitments. The commission give direction to staff to prepare a letter for the chair's signature, which would make the following unconditional commitments. And all of these relate to real property negotiations and our announcement out of real property negotiations. As the commission is aware, there are many bases for closed sessions. You can have labor negotiations, you can have litigation, all kinds of things. But these specific assertions in the letter all relate to the real property negotiations from the last one. So there are three unconditional commitments that I would recommend that the commission consider, and I will share with the commission that the Brown Act has the exact format and language for how you write a letter like this. So I am talking about the issues on a topical manner. What's actually in the letter that would be signed will follow the exact wording of the Brown Act. But the three that I would recommend you consider are all very responsive to the letter and address their request for a cease and desist. The first one is that the RTC would unconditionally commit that action taken in closed session related to real property negotiations will be within the scope authorized by Government Code Section 54956.8. So in non-legalese terms, that is the commission committing that you will follow the requirements for real property negotiation closed sessions, which the commission has done historically, but you can make that commitment. The second commitment is that RTC has utilized and will unconditionally commit to continue to utilize the language set forth in Government Code Section 54954.5 to identify real property negotiations on your agendas. And as the commission is aware, the Brown Act has what is referred to as the safe harbor provisions of the Brown Act, and they say that if you use this language to identify your Brown Act and you do it accurately, then there is a presumption that your noticing is accurate. And so this unconditional commitment would simply be the commission committing to continue to do what you've done historically, which is using that safe harbor language. The third part really relates more to my position, but the commission has to make the commitment itself. They raised an issue that they contended that when I reported out of closed session last time, that my report was not complete. They didn't say it was inaccurate, they just said it wasn't complete. And so I would recommend that the commission would also unconditionally commit that your staff, or you, would report items out of closed session that relate to real property negotiations in a manner consistent with the reporting requirements of Government Code Section 54957.7, which I would reference to the commission. I believe I did in the last meeting, but that would be the commitment that you would make. And if the commission wanted to consider a motion to approve those commitments, then that would direct staff to prepare such a letter. And Chair Montesino, I would suggest that even though you've taken public comment, if there is any public comment specifically on this issue, if the commission wanted to take any additional public comment, you should do that.
Yeah. First questions, Commissioner Martinez.
And to clarify, this is this acknowledging any wrongdoing?
It is not. Both the Brown Act language and the language that they require you to use when you make an unconditional commitment specifically do not acknowledge or are not used as an admission or an acknowledgement that there was a violation.
Thank you. And when we draft these unconditional commitments, who do we send that letter to?
It's sent back to the TransDev organization.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Schifrin.
As I understand it, the unconditional commitment we're making is that we're going to continue to follow the law.
In essence, that is correct.
The Brown Act is an amazing piece of legislation. It never ceases to amaze me.
Anybody else? Seeing none, go out to the public for public comment, just specific on this item.
Wanted to ask a clarifying question, just because I did read that command letter. It went, went around. Everybody was sending it around as soon as it popped up. And is it on now? Are you hearing me? I'm sorry. Okay, perfect. Jessica Evans on behalf of myself. So I read that letter and I wanted to ask just a clarifying question because I am confused about what the letter said, evidently, not being a lawyer. I thought that they were saying that you guys noticed that you were going to talk about the terms of the agreement with Progressive, but then you actually were talking about terminating it. And you're talking about saying that they were upset about real property negotiations, and those seem like two different things. So I just was wondering whether somebody might be willing to clarify.
Thank you. Seeing no one else?
I can, are there any other comments? Do you want to take
all
the comments?
Let's take the online calls.
Brian Peoples?
Hi, this is Brian Peoples with Trail Now. We fully support you sending a letter in RTC, and be sure to put in that letter, ask them to stay out of our local business, that their proposed train solution, they haven't read the report, so be explicit on telling them that they're way out of line, and thank you much. Thank you.
James Wheeler?
There. Let's be honest. The discussion of the ACL in closed session was not real property negotiation. The ACL has nothing to do with real property. That's a poor excuse, and the better way to handle that would have been to have an open public discussion among the commissioners of the merits surrounding the intended termination of the ACL. it shouldn't have been hidden. Maybe it's been cured now. Maybe you can cure it by promising not to violate the Brown Act next time. But let's not be disingenuous about the nature of the negotiations. That's all.
Thank you.
And our last speaker, Yanko.
You have violated the public trust, and you will need to work 1,000-fold to restore that trust. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to close that up and stop.
Chairman, if I may, I'll just respond with regards to the two sets of public comments. The commission was in closed session at the last meeting under real property negotiations. You also had a closed session regarding exposure to litigation. But the real property negotiations closed session was appropriate. The ACL is a license agreement, which is a property interest. It also conveys a freight easement, which is another form of property interest. And we were in closed session, and I'm not going to disclose any contents of the closed session, but we were in closed session to talk about negotiations that had been going on between Progressive and RTC to try to address the issues and to also understand what the agreement, which involved those real property interests, allowed for in the event that the parties could not come to agreement. And so that's what the closed session was about. That's the linkage between the two. We were in there specifically talking about two forms of real property interest.
Thank you. So it's been motion?
Second.
And it's second. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Keeley? Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Montesino?
Yes.
Commissioner Alternate Hurst?
I'll abstain.
Commissioner Alternate Schifrin?
Aye.
Commissioner DeSerpa?
Aye.
Commissioner Koenig?
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez?
Aye.
Commissioner Leonor?
Aye.
That passes with one abstention.
With that, we're going to go into review our closed session items to be discussed.
Mr. Chairman, we have the items on closed session tonight involve both today, thank you, this morning. A lot of us go to night meetings too, so we confused. My apologies, everyone. But we do have items involving exposure to litigation and initiation of litigation, and there may be a reportable action out of those. I anticipate the closed session will take less than 30 minutes.
Point of order.
Anybody from the public like?
Point of order.
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, point of order to our legal counsel. What are the conditions under which a voting member can abstain?
Well, clearly if there's a conflict, you can recuse and abstain. RTC rules and procedures, as I recall, do not articulate a basis. I can check that very quickly for the commission if you'd like. And if a commissioner doesn't feel like they have enough information, then they can choose to exercise an abstention on the issue. But more typically, it is done because of a conflict basis.
It's my understanding that in other capacities, for example, if you are a city council member, a supervisor, you are obligated to vote unless you have a conflict, in which case you can abstain.
I would need to check RTC's rules and regulations.
Would you do that?
I will do that, and I'll report back to the commission. I'm assuming the commission will be okay if I report back later. Is that correct?
No.
I think he wants an answer.
Hang on just a second.
Today.
Excuse me?
No. Yeah, this is their rules and procedures, right?
Rules and regs, yeah.
Yeah. The RTC's rules and regulations as they presently exist in reference to abstaining from voting, simply authorize a commissioner to abstain from voting. They don't state grounds.
There you go. With that, any public comment on the closed session items? Seeing none, anybody over Zoom?
We don't have anybody online.
We'll close that up, so thank you, and our next meeting is March 5th at Scotts Valley. Go ahead. So we're back. A report at a closed session.
Thank you, Chair. The commission had 2 items on closed session today. One was anticipated litigation, significant exposure litigation, and there was no reportable action from that. There was a second closed session, which was was initiation of litigation, and there is a reportable action on that item. By a vote of 9-1, the commission authorized legal counsel to commence litigation against Progressive if necessary to secure the transfer of the freight easement. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, and that adjourns the meeting. Thank you, and see you next month.